Hello and welcome to our first movie review. We are doing Godzilla vs. Kong. We're also with our new setup here. Not sure how long this is gonna last. Let me know what you think in the comments, I guess. And let's get into it. I will start with a non-spoiler review, and I'll move on to a spoiler review, and then at the end, I will do a quick sum up that will be non-spoiler in case you want to hear the rest of the review. So, yeah, here we go. 'Cause this is my guitar, and I'm playing it because I know how to play a guitar. So this is my song that I'm singing, but now it's over now because my intro is too by. I think we should start where any review of a kaiju movie should start. The battles and the kaiju themselves. I actually thought that throughout most of the movie, the CGI was a little shaky, a little strange on the eyes in every area except Godzilla, Kong, the environments, and the battle themselves. That's a lot, but you get my point. Everything looked fantastic in those areas, and that's really important, I would think. I think that one area, one shot in particular comes to mind, and that's that one really cool shot from the trailer where Kong has his sword thing and he's coming in and the light is reflecting on his face. Really cool, really cool. The battles themselves were pretty well choreographed. I do feel that maybe they could have utilized their environments a little more because they had really cool environments and settings. I feel like they definitely could have done a little more with that, but it was still pretty cool. I also like how each monster had fighting moves and gimmicks that mimicked their fighting styles from previous movies. I thought that was a really neat detail. Additionally, I really liked how the action stayed fast-paced. You know, I think something that can be cool, a good example would be Pacific Rim, is when the massive beings move really slow. It adds a lot of impact, right? But in this movie, they did a good job of balancing that by having them move slowly and making the scale really stand out. But they also had a fast pace to the point where you weren't and this is gonna make me sound like I have a very small attention span, but it's also fast-paced to the point where you're not falling asleep in your chair. Next, let's move on to characters. I don't really like how they took favorites, sort of having Kong be the protagonist, but I understand, you have to have a main character. Did lead to Kong being a little more fleshed out than Godzilla, but I think that's fine because they both had previous movies, and to be fair, Godzilla has had more movies than Kong, so I think it works. Some of the character development was a little ruined at the end, but I'll touch on that later during the spoiler section. One thing that Godzilla vs. Kong did very well that I'm extremely happy with is they learned from their predecessors. We got so much time with the main focus of the movie, the monsters, right? And I haven't done direct comparisons to the other movies, but at the very least felt like we were getting a lot more interaction with the monsters themselves. I thought the human plot lines were fine. I like how they weren't the center of attention all the time, but when they were relatively captivating. As long as you ignore the cliches and the bad writing, they were fine. But that does bring us on to our next point. The writing wasn't exactly the best. It suffered from a lot of cliches and a lot of things that just didn't make sense. And it's not just the plot regarding the humans either, which tends to be the case, I feel like. It was also with the monsters. Maybe I just didn't get it or I missed something during the total of about 5 minutes I was gone feeding my dog and using the restroom, but it just didn't work. And it's not like it was just one small thing every so often. No, it was a lot of big things throughout the entirety of the movie. There's one in particular that comes to mind, but I'll get to that in the spoiler review. Basically, there were key plot lines of why Godzilla and Kong were meeting, let alone fighting, and they didn't really dive into them. Now, I will be presenting the spoiler review. And now I will be doing that cheesy thing that every YouTuber does. Skip to this time if you want to skip the spoilers. Right off the bat, friends, we have to discuss the thing that really ruined this movie for me. The large letdown that I will call, with a very unoriginal name, the Batman v Superman dilemma. I was gonna go with problem, but dilemma sounds better. Anyways, we got yet another movie where they're oh, this guy's gonna fight this guy. It's gonna be a massive showdown. And they only fight for a small portion of the movie, only to team up against Mechagodzilla or Doomsday or General Ross, I guess, in Civil War. I don't know, Baron Zemo. Like, come on! They literally promised us a definitive winner, saying someone would walk away from this and someone else would not. They promised us this. They said it would have huge implications on the future of the so-called Monsterverse. I found this headline from a month ago. Promised that there would be someone that would not win, right? And I'm not saying I wanted, either of them to get wrecked, but I mean, don't you think it would have been a little more interesting to stray from the same pattern that we've had going for the last 20 years? This isn't even false advertising, because technically someone didn't walk away, or technically there was a definitive winner, two rather, against Mechagodzilla. But it's just disappointing, Now I want to touch back on my earlier points that I never came back to, which I'm coming back to now. Character development and plot holes. Specifically, in the penultimate battle when Godzilla had Kong pinned, letting him go was a complete break of character. What the heck was that? And while it's true that in the past Godzilla was shown to have humanity, throughout the rest of this movie, he was completely raging at Kong, so it didn't make sense for him to just let him go. It didn't feel right. It was another scenario of, oh, he roared back at me, so I have respect for him, which is fair, but I mean, not only is it a cliche, it's just not what we were promised. As far as plot holes go, there's really one big one that stuck out to me, and that was there's one computer monitor that controls Mechagodzilla. I mean, I guess it's possible, but isn't Apex supposed to be like this huge corporation? Wouldn't they have like satellites and stuff and multiple grids and stuff controlling Mechagodzilla? I mean, maybe not. I don't know. And I mean, I know it only stunned him for like a second, but that was crucial. That was a crucial second. That's what allowed Godzilla and Kong to overtake Mechagodzilla. I don't know. Why were they able to get Kong in a cage? Why was Kong's axe thing linked to Godzilla? Why were they able to achieve maximum power with Mechagodzilla by literally scanning one sample? Wouldn't they need to have that sample over there with them and perhaps link it to Godzilla or something, as opposed to just like scanning it and downloading it? I mean, I guess you could make the argument future, but that just doesn't really work. Or if it does, then explain it. These questions, unless I somehow missed them, are never explained. Ultimately, it seemed like a lot of the money was spent on choreographing the battle sequences and CGI. It seems like they skimped a little bit on the writing. But I think I'd rather have it be that way for a kaiju battle movie instead of the other way around. As a monster movie, 7 out of 10 for pure spectacle and awesome battle sequences. As a film, probably a 5.5 out of 10 for shaky writing and plot holes. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. Yeah. That's really all I have to say, so thank you.